liberty, and justice for all.
In deference to one of our committee members who's running a little late, we'll be moving through. First, we'll go to the approval of the meeting minutes. And then from there, if the person has arrived at that point, we'll go to old business, Berry Reservoir. I know you all are here for the whole thing, and you really want to just be here till 9 or 10 o'clock. But I thought most of you were here for that issue, so we'll be able to move on that. So if I could have a public comment, we'll wait until our third member is here, please. While we're in session, I'd like to just go to the approval of the meeting minutes, please. First meeting minutes that we'll be taking a look at is June 2nd. We have meeting minutes for June 2nd.
Yes, we do. I read them.
Okay, we've had these in our packet for a period of time,
Yes.
and thus I'll look for a motion to approve,
I'll make a motion that we approve the June 2nd, 2025 board minutes.
and that would be for public release, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I will second that. Those in favor of the approval of the meeting minutes for June 2nd, 2025. Approval?
Aye.
Aye, okay, that's okay. June 3rd, 2025, we have a joint meeting with Finance Committee members, and we have that in the packet, and obviously that has been approved by the Finance Committee already, but our part in it is now available to us, and that is for us to take action on this evening. Have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the joint select board meeting minutes with the finance committee on Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025.
I will second that motion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving along then. I see no other members, so we'll go into select board reports. And looking for an update on FY26 budget, Prop 2.5 override, Finance Committee public hearing tomorrow evening, June 17th, 6:30 p.m. at the Henry Woods Building, 40 West Street, the room you're in. And obviously, there's been an awful lot of work done on the FY26 budget, Prop 2.5 override, because obviously we find that due to the costs of various fixed costs like our health insurance, Worcester County retirement, and other matters on the, we're gonna be seeking an override in the community to, in other words, cover some of those costs as well as cover other areas in the budget where we have had significant increases. I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail on that this evening, since we will be at a public hearing tomorrow evening in this room with the Budget and Finance Committee, who will actually be in charge of the meeting, but there will be a meeting that is posted for the selectmen as well. People will have the opportunity not only to review the budget, but to make recommendations if they feel that there's an issue of concern that they feel should be addressed prior to getting to town meeting, which is on the 24th. I'm sure all of you can't wait for town meeting. It's such a special event. But at any rate, important things. We've spent a good deal of time on that. We are also working with the House and the Senate. They are currently now looking at supplemental appropriations from the excess that was left over from the millionaire's tax. Some of that is designated to go to schools. If they go to schools and it's in regional transportation, that may indeed help our assessment for schools, since the Quabbin Regional School District may have access to some of that money. Of course, we won't know that until the House and the Senate continue their work. Unfortunately, the House and the Senate were supposed to have a budget by July 1st or June 30th. Probably will not have a budget until mid-July, if we're lucky, and that makes our guessing at the end of quite frankly, we're guessing. We're guessing on what we're getting for receipts, because we're not quite sure, and we dare not think we're getting more than we end up getting, because that would be bad news for all of you, because there would be cuts made halfway through the year that would be significant. So, anyway, just to let you know that tomorrow night will be one other meeting, and it will be. Pardon me?
What time?
6:30 p.m. here in this room, and we're a little concerned that maybe more people will show up than usual, but this has been very enough for most every other evening. But I would just say that all the department heads are going to be here too, to walk you through questions that people will have. If we cut this, what does this mean for police? If we cut this, what does this mean for libraries? If we cut this, and so you will hear, not from Maureen or the select board, you will hear from people who are managing those departments. And some of the things that they will say and the concerns that they have, we want the town to hear that before we put the final pen to paper and say, we've got enough in the budget. We don't have enough in the budget, quite frankly, even with the override, to do the service delivery pattern that you currently have. So, lots of discussion tomorrow night, lots of information, so certainly we'll be on TV, but if you want to have the opportunity to have a comment, so you'll be able to do it if you're here in person. And the Budget and Finance Committee will actually run the hearing, the selectmen will be here, all the department heads will be here, so you'll have a good opportunity to ask questions. Okay, that being said, we don't have anything else under Select Board Reports this evening, because we have spent a good deal of time, most of our time, working on budget. Moving on, I know that the old business item, I think most of you were here for that. I know you all enjoyed being here, but I think you're really here for that. So we have been spending a good deal of time working through a lot of legal issues related to this matter. Okay, and so I'm going to ask Mr. Stevens to spend a little time walking you through what information we have from our tax attorney, what information we have from our the people from KP Law that represent us in all matters relative to our school, of our select board business. So, Rich, why don't you walk us through some information we have from both the tax attorney and KP Law, and the recommendation that we will probably participate with tonight.
Okay, very good, thank you. I'm going to share two documents that we have received. One is from the town tax attorney, and that attorney would deal with any tax takings or any properties that the town would be involved in or the consideration of taking for back taxes. And this is in the email form, it's not in a professional written form, but I want to read it to you anyway, and then I will read the letter from KP Law. It says, "Hi Rich, just letting you know what I've heard so far. According to the Tax Title Council, the officers or their heirs of the defunct corporation would indeed be the parties to serve notice to of any land court case taking the property in tax title. That said, with all intents and purposes, if the property was never conveyed somewhere, the corporation still owns the property despite its defunct status. This would explain why the title and deed remain on the record of registry deeds as Prince River Corporation, and the same with the tax records of the assessors. They would also ask the land court to publish notice for any other parties that might hold an interest, but who were not officers, shareholders, if we were to initiate a case. So it would appear that the property remains Prince River Corp. Until conveyed to another party or until taken by the town through eminent domain or through tax title via land court, despite dissolution of the corporation otherwise." So that's from the town's tax attorney. Now I'll read the letter from KP Law, which is the town's attorney. "Dear Ms. Martin, you have requested an opinion regarding ownership of the property on which the old Berry Reservoir Dam is located, being Lot 34 on Assessors Map C. The property, and guidance regarding responsibility therefore. Following a title search, we identified the most recent deed for the property, which is recorded in the Worcester County Registry of Deeds in Book 02579, page 363. Title to the property is held by the Prince River and Corp. In Massachusetts Corporation, it has been dissolved. The town did record an instrument of tax taking in 1997 for the property, but there is no record of a judgment being sought from the land court that would transfer a title to the town, and therefore, Prince River Corp. Still holds the title to the property. In Massachusetts, 3 years after a corporation's dissolution, the surviving shareholders become the owners of all corporation's real property if it is not otherwise liquidated. And there's some case law, Pegaconis versus Pendleton, City of Springfield versus Schaefer. I won't read all the appendages that go with those case laws. Tax taken against shareholder or defunct corporation for unpaid taxes is valid because more than 3 years had lapsed from the date of the corporation's dissolution. Also see General Law, Chapter 200A. If the town wants to take ownership of the property, it can file a tax taking action in the land court, seeking judgment on an instrument of taking and name the surviving officers of Prince River Corp. In that action. From our initial research, it appears that at least one of the 5 directors and officers listed in the Articles of Dissolution has since passed away, but likely has heirs. Those persons should Those persons could choose to object to the tax taking and perhaps pay off the taxes, but I suspect that's unlikely. There are also likely significant costs associated with ownership of the dam relating to its repair, maintenance, and upkeep. And that's signed by Attorney Lee Smith on behalf of the town.
Now, that the corporation from the situation that we had reviewed earlier, the Charles G. Allen, is that corporation, does that have any, are they actual owners of this now? Are they, sort of the descendant corporation of the Prince River crowd?
There perhaps there could be some members of the Allen family or company that were involved, or members or owners of the Prince River Corporation. Those names are listed in the tax documents.
Oh, they are?
I don't have those names available tonight, but the opinion is from two attorneys is the corporations, those people still own it or they're heirs. So that's where it lies tonight. The town does not own it. We did not ever follow through and take it, even though the process was started in whatever that year I read.
97.
Thank you, 97.
So basically, after some verbal back and forth with our attorneys, they basically say very specifically to us, as the representatives of the community that may be responsible for this dam, that we neither have the responsibility nor the authority to turn this over to the state to remove this dam. Our vote would be interest to all of you, but not necessarily anything through the courts that we could, we have no liability for this. The state has indicated that what we are going to vote tonight is to send our attorneys to the state and say, this isn't ours. Come up with another plan, because we can't vote to have land that we've never taken and say that we're going to do X or Y and we're going to accept a grant on behalf of the owners, because we're not the owners yet. We would have to go through a long process to become the owners, and we believe there are other corporations that have been established since, the Prince River Corporation, that name in their documents that dam as being theirs. So that being said, our advice from our attorney is that the town, that would be the select board acting on behalf of the town, to, without, the responsibility, or shall we say, we just don't have the authority to say we're gonna take the grant and we're gonna remove the dam, or that we're gonna fix the dam. We don't have the authority to do that. The state sort of says we do, but they have legitimately indicated that they have not really investigated into this as to the liability that Barry would have if we move forward with this without going through the very, very arduous tax taking of the property. And we don't believe at this particular time, in this particular situation, that that is something that we can afford to do. And thus, we are probably going to just say to the state, our attorneys will say to the state, this is the situation that the town of Barre is in. We disagree with you when you said, you really looked at it and you found there was no other possible owners but the town of Barre. Doesn't look like that's the case. There are other corporations that are on the books that continue to have supposedly authority to manage that property. So that being said, we're not gonna spend a ton of money litigating to get our hands on this land at this particular time, and we wait after our attorneys talk with the state to see what the state will decide is their next steps. Because obviously they have monies to manage this property, and if they would like to do a little bit more work on it, that's up to them, and we certainly will continue to be a partner in something that's realistic if that becomes our way. But that's where we are at this time, and we'll be making, voting tonight to have our attorneys contact the state and say, this isn't really ours.
So did you say that you have a list of people who are still alive who are directors of the original or subsequent corporation?
We do.
We do.
Have you contacted those people?
We figured that our attorneys will do that. I mean, it's not our obligation to try to prove or disprove their corporation. It's the state's obligation to do that. I mean, I'd like to say I could wave my magic wand and do whatever I want, but it doesn't appear that we can do that. We really have, this is far more complex than we ever thought. We thought the Prince River people were all dead, the heirs were all dead, there was nobody else who had any title to this property. That is not the case. The case is that there were other corporations that were established along the line, and there are people who are alive who are part of that corporation, and there are attorneys through their work have indicated that they believe there are descendants from the Prince River Corporation who probably have no interest in this property, but who are alive.
But descendants are not required to take ownership of something their
We know that,
grandpa
but they
owned.
should know that they have the opportunity to do so.
Nobody's that crazy.
Well, not even the town, right?
It's good to know tax taking of a property is arduous.
I'm sorry?
It's good to know that tax taking of a property is an arduous
Well,
process.
Well,
Just
especially,
mental
I will
note.
tell you, there have been, for example, there's a lot up on West Street that we have been working on for 4 or 5 years, maybe before me, which is a lot, is that 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever it is. And finally, after 4 years of work in the courts, we have now been able to take that property.
Is that just recent?
That's recent. You know the one I talk about.
Yeah, the one, yeah. Didn't they sell it?
It sounds like a resident contacted our legal for this. Is that costing us
That's
any
not
money?
true.
Is this legal?
Of course it
questions?
is.
It did, the letter was from Miss Martin that Richie wrote.
Miss Martin was the town administrator.
Okay.
She works for us. She works for you.
Yeah, she just left for a
And
new
when
position.
we deal with our legal counsel, we're getting charged for this?
Absolutely.
Yes, yep.
Well, we've been getting charged for this all along, yeah.
Silly question, is there people paying taxes on that property?
No,
No.
there's no taxes paid on this
50
in
years.
decades.
So this is a problem that where another property that's owned that's not, taxes aren't being paid on?
Well, we believe it's owned by some people who probably don't know they own it.
Okay.
That'd be my guess. The state believes that there's nobody around that, and they figure the town
Is
could
there-
take it by tax.
Is there a report on the health of the dam?
Yes.
Okay, where can it, maybe, it sounds like more people know about this than I do. Where can I view that report?
Well, you can view that report probably by coming into the office and spending time to do so, because it's this thick, and we're not gonna, if you would like to pay for us to make the copy, we'd be happy, but obviously, it's a huge document. Mr. Vallaponis is very familiar with it, I think, remember that one?
I read it.
Yeah,
The-
which indicates it's a from their perspective, it's a high hazard dam and thus eligible for the participation in the grant program that the state. Now, if this was truly our clean owned property, then we'd be still going back and forth saying, you want the dam, we don't want the dam, somebody wants the dam, we wanna fix the dam, we
We're
wanna.
not
take the
even
dam.
there yet.
No.
Okay. Is this an earthen dam?
Yes, it is.
Is an earthen dam with a spillway?
Yes.
An earthen spillway?
Concrete.
It's pretty much been.
Concrete? Are there trees growing out of the dam?
Yes, lots of them.
Oh.
The dam's
All right.
been breached.
The dam will be breached.
Well,
I'm
it is
I'm not a
breached.
doomsayer, but
Yeah.
every levee that has ever failed, every dam, I mean, I live on the river. I have vested interest in the concerns for this. And I understand there's a nice pond up there. That's cool. But, you know, we've seen a lot, the Hurricane of '38 moved a lot of dams on that river. And most of them weren't earthen dams. They were large multi-tonnage boulders that got turned into erratics down the valley. And we're within 100 years for the 100-year storm event to happen. So I have some interest in this and want to know more about it, only because we're coming into maybe another era of powerful storms like Vermont just had. If there's a way to secure that dam or to painfully let it out and restore the valley. But it's, that's pretty important, I think.
Well, the thing of it is, the state has allocated through a grant program monies to do this dam. What they're trying to do, I think they thought legitimately that the town just owned it, but we don't own it.
Yeah.
Matt?
When this topic first came up, the state said at that time, and this kind of undermines the expectation we owned it, they said, if you remove the dam, you don't have to own it. If you rebuild it, we'll only rebuild it if you take ownership. So in the very beginning, there was no assumption we owned it when they made the offer. So my question now comes back to what I originally said. just as Richard came onto the board, so I'm just trying to time that statement, is it's not the responsibility of the town, other than to answer the question the state asked. Do you want to repair the dam, or do you want to remove it? And they'll take all actions thereafter to take that course. If you want to repair it, you have to commit to following through on the tax title to take the land. Or just reach out and see if it'll even be contested. Because if it won't even be contested, the effort of tax title is not nearly as difficult as if you have someone living there saying, don't take my land. So there is a different perception to the situation, and I'm not quite sure if what I heard versus the fine print. I don't even think that grant is being given to the town. It's a grant to the state to complete things that towns agree for them, or private individuals that own, that are willing to let them remove a dam. The state manages the grant. It's not awarded to us, so we're not taking the responsibility for any action that occurs other than you making your request to the state saying, please follow this course or that course. And then lastly, with all of the money we just spent with tax lawyer and then KP Law, we have the same answer we all knew. The town doesn't own it. And we're gonna have to do tax title to get it if we want to. So we just spent money doing something we already knew. We just didn't know as the current board, but the town records already showed it, is my point.
Well, the thing that I think was new to us is that there is another corporation in this matter that has some title to this, specifically this dam. And after our attorneys reviewed it, now I would like to say that you are probably cheaper than KP Law, and if I could just, give you the certification of being the town attorney, I'd be happy to follow your advice. And I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you that is exactly what I believed.
It's
But
the same one you've been saying since the beginning. Prince River.
Excuse me, please?
I'm sorry.
Just want to talk to Matt. So our obligation is to make certain that what we do doesn't in any way put the town in a situation where it can be, okay, do something that the attorneys would say, don't do that, don't do that. You don't really own this land, don't do that. Don't take it for tax title. They're gonna now work with the state. And, whether they'll come back with this clean bill of health from the state, because the state's gonna sign off on this and say, Matt, what Matt says is absolutely right, and we're gonna put this down, and okay, that's one thing. But to go forward without a surety that that's the situation, even after these individuals spent time reviewing all of this stuff, and they're saying, wait a minute, don't move forward at this time. We're gonna spend more time, and maybe they're just trying to make money, I don't know. But my concern just is, I have no background in whether this dam, okay, is exactly what any of you think it is. I respect what all of you think it is. Okay, but we have to follow legal, I think the legal stuff that's laid out for us by our tax attorney and by KP Law. Those are the individuals that give us the best advice. If we were to ignore their advice, you would all be clamoring for us to wake up, I think. And if not, you should. So we are, at this point, going to turn this over to KP Law and our tax attorney to work directly with the state and say, what do you want us to do with this? Do you want to talk with this other corporation that we think probably owns this or has authority to manage this, and they are alive, and we know they're alive, and we know where they live? Now, so if, what would you like us to do? Because we don't know if this corporation that their descendants may or may not know they own this. That we take it when we knew that we should have been having conversations with them.
Have you had conversations with them?
My only point here is it doesn't matter who it is. What we knew is we didn't own it. It could be anybody out there that owned it. When you tell the state the course you would like them to take on this, that's when all that gets hashed out. Not before you figure out which direction the town wants to go.
Perhaps you're right. I don't dispute that you might be right. I don't. My obligation, however, is not to say, well, Matt Urban said this, so we're doing Y.
No, but my simple point to that is, when you respond to the state, you send it in your own letterhead with legal review that states,
We will.
we would take no ownership if we want to remove the dam. If we want to, then you're making the commitment, you'll move forward with tax title under your administrative privileges, which does not require annual town vote to take that land.
And we will also.
So,
and we will
in
give-
other words, it's your choice, the path, based on the last 2 years we've been talking about, do you want to repair it or remove it? You only have the two choices, and the method itself has been clearly described for a long while, and we just spent more money to verify it's the same steps we would have to take. I am confused, again, why we need to stop and have a conversation with the state again before we can just send a letter saying, this is our recommendation, and here's our caveats based on that.
Matt, you're missing the point. The state said there are no living people, there are no heirs. They couldn't find anybody. We found people. Our attorneys, we know exactly who these people are. You're missing the point.
No, the point is,
Due
it
diligence.
doesn't matter, nobody answered
Due
anything
diligence
legally
was
said.
not done. I said that 2 meetings ago. Due diligence was not done. The state
It
sent
would
us a
have to
report,
get done
excuse me,
based on your recommendation. It wouldn't happen
Excuse
if they
me.
legally can't do it.
excuse me.
So I'm confused.
I'm the elected person here, I have the floor.
My apologies, Chair.
Anyway,
I'm gonna finish what I have to say, yes.
I believe our basic, I think what we're planning to do and recommended by legal is for us to go to the state with the new information that we have and to say to them, at this juncture, what's your plan, state? These are people who are heirs apparent. And because they said there's nobody who owns this. Are you saying to the town of Barre, take this for taxes? Or are they saying, oh, okay, we'll do whatever we want to do? Okay, I don't know what they'll say. My guess is they don't understand some of the new information that we have. And if we got new information and we failed to at least investigate into it, I think that would be negligent. So we're trying to do, which is a slow walk. I think some of you said, hey, this is a strategy they came up to slow walk this. Listen, I would,
Sure seems that way.
I would, yeah, I
I
would.
would believe that,
Yeah.
just so you know. I
You know,
don't.
I would prefer just to make a decision based upon the information we had, because it was simple, it was easy. It's not quite so simple and it's so easy, so we have to kind of slow down, say to the state, what's your plan? This is the information that we now have. Do you want to, recommend to these people that this is what's going to happen? Maybe they don't even have a clean knowledge that they have this access to this property. Because we have not spoken to some of the individuals involved.
With all due respect, do you have the same information you had 2 years ago? which
That's
is
not true.
No,
Corporation with no names of heirs.
We have another corporation, okay, that has access and has ownership status to this property. Okay, it's not just the Prince River Association.
Oh, okay.
It's a new team in there, because when we were in having them investigate into
I
the
misunderstood.
corporations that were involved, they said, oh, wait a minute, why do you keep talking about Prince River? These are the people who have the most recent corporation, and they're established, they're on the books, and we said, oh. Now, do they know, because they're probably heirs to this, do they know they have responsibility for this? So we said, well, we should investigate into it, so that's where we're at.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Like, it's in the town's best interest to follow the advice of legal counsel.
Well, we're not happy about it, because it's another year of wasted time from everybody's perspective, I'm sure.
I have two questions. One is, who is the town's tax attorney? We just keep hearing tax attorney. The second one is, a few weeks ago, you said that the issue of the successor corporation was being investigated by the Secretary of State. And what was the result of that investigation?
The only information that we have is from our tax attorney, which I assume, okay, maybe erroneously so, I assume that this tax attorney did due diligence. He was highly recommended to us to be the person who would be able
And he
to
is?
walk us through.
I don't have that name right here tonight, but I'll get it for you.
Okay.
You guys don't know the
So
name
we
of the
don't
tax
know,
attorney.
we don't know if the tax attorney actually did the investigation with the Secretary of State, which we said was being done.
We would expect that was.
Right, but we do not have the result of
Right,
the investigation. Thank you.
One quick question.
Okay, make it.
Not a debatable one, I just don't know. Do you know the value of the unpaid taxes on that property?
We think about 125,000, but we're not really,
Thank-
that's the estimate.
Have tax bills been sent out?
Oh, no, we didn't, we believed, okay, that we had nobody send the tax bill to. Anyway. Boyd?
Yeah, it's really quick. So again, there are kind of two parts to this. The value of either keeping or removing the old reservoir, and also the part that we're dealing with now is the legality of, which path we're ultimately gonna choose. And I'm just curious, are we trying to do the due diligence to figure out if it's in the best interest of the town to keep or remove? Because this individual that apparently lives downstream was concerned about flooding. And one of the last ladies that came in was talking about removing the dam, and she said the analysis was if we remove the dam, then the storm water would dissipate up on the banks, and that's called flooding. So all these homes that are downstream on the banks are then gonna flood, and some of the individuals that are here proposed allowing beavers to rebuild the dam after the earthen berm is removed, and that's gonna cause additional flooding. And we were having significant rainfall events that are adding a significant amount of water to these streams. So I think that, I'm just curious, are we out doing the additional work so we can decide whether or not this is in the best interest of the town to remove? So then when we do,
Obviously, what we have an obligation to do is to work with the state to access, this grant, okay? And we have to make certain that we are the entity that has the opportunity to access the grant. Now, we believe that this grant would not be given to an individual or an individual corporation. We could be wrong about that. We believe that it has to go through the town. We believe that. Now, whether or not that we will get to that point where there is some legal rulings that indicate that this other, corporation that's been involved and stuff, do we have to take it for taxes first, do we have to do this? Or as Matt points out, is there a way that the state just worries about who owns the land and they just come in and do X or Y? And that what the town has the opportunity to do is to say, repair it and monitor it and keep it safe over time, or let Prince River go. There's two options that we see that would be the responsibility of us to potentially make a decision about, but we're not there yet.
There are programs where the state will help a private owner if they do choose to remove their dam.
Okay.
We can also make purchases on land as well that is donated to them through Heritage Forestry. The DCR does that, and they'll take that land and alleviate people of the tax burden, if you will, by taking that land.
Mhm.
Still allowing them access to the property, but not having to pay taxes on it.
Mhm. Mr. Keith?
Thank you, Maureen. I'm really satisfied to hear that we're doing the due diligence through the attorneys. There's a couple of things that I'd like to bring up too, because I'm concerned for the folks that are worrying about their flood situations if the dam ever let go. Well, we repair the dam or we fix the dam or whatever we do, downstream, after a law from DEP 2021, if any of these folks that live there over those years have filled their property, even legally through Concom and DEP, Wetlands Protection Act, the whole thing, it's going to put an encumbrance. This is happening right now at Bel Air Dam to the people downstream. It puts an encumbrance on their properties in perpetuity, and it's in the law, and people can read this. Where if it was ever filled before, they're going to be liable for 3 years if the state decides that they want the wetland reconditioned. And that opens up the whole valley to things that are still going to end up right here in this office on this desk when people are running into this. There's also new stormwater management that is going to be needed along this issue as the wetlands delineations change. This is my understanding of what's all on paper from the state. Right about now, Bel Air Dam, AECom is sending them a letter of notification. I have it in my file, I forgot it, I don't have it with me. that, you know, their wetlands are gonna change, the floodplain's gonna change, and this is post their project that they come out with this. My point, and I'll cut short here in a minute, is this has been wrong from that state engineer from the start. Whoever advised who owned it or whatever, the whole thing hasn't been truthful and transparent from the start. Thank you, ma'am.
Joy?
There is a website available on the Bel Air Dam project, which shows the letter that the people who are abutting got. And it, obviously, wetland borders are gonna change when a dam is removed. There's going to be less wetland, and it's mostly gonna impact people who are above the dam, and they're not gonna have the same amount of regulations, but all of the information is there in the Bel Air Dam website that AECOM has put out.
Right.
And you can look at all the communications that people downstream have gotten, and all the maps, and all the reports, and they're very good at keeping the community informed on what they're doing. And this company also has to go through a rigorous permitting process. If they're allowed to remove a dam, it can take years.
Yeah.
Because they go through, and they're not gonna do it if it's going to flood people's property or increase their risks. That's part of why they're doing this, and a lot goes into it. So, there's a lot of information out there if you look for it.
Exactly.
One thing, the objective of.
And water runs downhill, Mrs. Larrabee.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
The objective of this evening's meeting was to bring you up to speed on where the select board is on making any decision relative to the dam. Whether it be removed or whether it be repaired and so on and so forth. Whether or not we even still are eligible for, okay, whatever the monies are that the state is offering. We appreciate, you know, the issue that really is troubling many of you. Some of you want the dam removed, some of you want the dam to be repaired, and obviously that's another for another evening, I guess. But for you to understand that tonight we plan to vote to authorize our attorneys to work with the state to find out the circumstances, the legal circumstances of the community. What obligations do we have? Are we still eligible for money if we don't take the land? Do other individuals own the land? Did they supersede the town's efforts on the land? Have they paid taxes and we just didn't know, but because they were paying it some different land as they viewed it? But at any rate, we need to clarify that before we can just sit down here and say, because we're not going to make all of you happy, right? Whatever we decide. We know that. If we say we're gonna let Prince River go, that's not gonna make some of you happy, it's gonna make other people happy. If we say, nope, we're gonna repair the dam, that's gonna make some other people happy and other people very unhappy, because people are gonna say, we don't have enough money now to run the, and you want us to build, fix the dam and go up there and monitor it, blah, blah. So, we know that we're gonna lose no matter what happens here, but we wanna make sure that the town is protected legally, and that sometimes the state may not have information that we have been able to dig up, and we wanna make certain as we talk with them, what the obligations of the community actually are. We wanna represent the people who live down on Route 32 who could care less about the dam. Let's be honest. They're down in Barry Plains, they're saying, hey, we've lived in the floodplain forever. They built the new Barry Falls Dam, and that has made and protected us for numbers of years. They're not worried about your dam, they're just not. And they would be very upset if we just said, what the heck, we'll just do this with Prince River, or we'll build the dam. So we want to make sure that we have the legal authority to do whatever it is this board may decide, and that it's clear.
Just real quick, you mentioned two options. And as a resident downstream, runs right through my property, my first choice would be remove the dam. But I don't really want to pay taxes for somebody's, little spot, but there's plenty of things we all pay taxes for that we don't use. So
Absolutely.
not a big deal. The third option is doing nothing, which a faction seems to be shooting for. That's my concern.
Well, what our concern is, if you read the state's report, and I don't know, if some of you want to come in and take, you can make your own copy of it, but I mean, it's hundreds of pages.
I have a hard time putting any faith in any report the state has put together.
Great, great to add that, Mark.
No, I do myself, because
Yeah.
they can't even do the due diligence on finding who the owner was, and they're putting it up on us all that time. I just think that something else should be done. Another report, I don't see how, what they explained in the report, how it could all happen. Furthermore, downstream, when you remove that dam, there's problems for another dam downstream, that's all gonna silt in, all right? Unless you're gonna go in with
repair the
the,
dam.
yes, unless you're gonna go in with a
I'm
dredge.
talking
and dredge
about
all
the
that
third option. I'm sorry.
Unless you're gonna go into the dredge and pull all that out, you're gonna lose, it's gonna silt downstream, okay?
May I speak?
Go ahead.
Once more?
You certainly can.
That's part of the permitting process. Once again, they're not allowed, if they're gonna do damage to other dams below, they're not allowed to do it. But, I mean, if you don't trust anything the state says, it's one thing, but it's not something that they're allowed to do if it's gonna cause chaos, and there's many of these projects going on.
Is it a risk?
I just want to
Is
state.
it a high-risk dam?
According to the state, it is, and so,
According to the state, we own it.
yeah.
I just want to add, AE.com is the same company that told the state of Rhode Island that the George Washington Bridge was perfectly fine one year and catastrophically failed the next. So
Well,
the trust level,
Okay, we could go on here until 11 o'clock tonight, and really what we really need to
Sued for
do,
fraud.
what we really need to do.
Sued for fraud by the U.S. Department of Justice, AECom.
Anyway, our job
I needed to
tonight
say that.
is to have, we're gonna take a vote tonight, okay? To recognize that the town, okay, we believe that the town's obligation at this point is to continue working through legal counsel to ensure that we have, okay, the authority and responsibility to manage this particular issue. Because if we don't, we're just wasting time arguing about how to manage it. Okay, so that's the motion. The motion is to continue our work through legal counsel to ensure that the town has the authority, the responsibility, and the liability to manage this project. And that means manage it with the state. And we certainly agree that all of you are frustrated. We understand that there's no easy answer, but when we get, and if we get to the point where it is the responsibility of this board to pick one, we know we will not make all of you happy. So what we want to do is to make sure we protect, okay, the town of Barre, and that if things were to go wrong, that we would have the liability if somebody came forward and said, you people don't even own the place. We want this to happen. So at any rate, that's what we're going to hopefully have a motion to that effect, that we would continue our work with legal counsel and so forth to ensure that the town of Barre has the responsibility, the authority, and the liability to manage the, shall we call it, the old reservoir dam project.
I move to approve the motion as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion made and seconded to continue our investigation through legal counsel with this management of how to protect the citizens of Barre, okay, with the, regarding the dam issue that the state has brought to our attention. Those in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay, it's a unanimous vote. We'll continue our work.
I do have a question. How does this impact the question that's being petitioned for town meeting? I'm just trying to shorten town meeting, and this is one that could add extensive debate.
Okay, I would say that would be an article that we will talk with the people who have presented the article to us, whether or not they would like to have further discussion at that time, or whether we would pass it over. I certainly would respect the individuals who are urging the selectmen to take, quick action, which is what the article says. Doesn't say what to do, it basically says do something. And I certainly understand the frustration that would bring that article to town meeting floor, but we're not gonna get a show of hands, we're not gonna put on the thing on, a week from now. Oh, okay, everybody who wants this, vote for that. That's not what the article says, okay? So we're gonna have enough controversial matters to talk about at town meeting,
I'm just curious, is there a reason there's such urgency about it? Is it because the state has declared the dam is failing? Like,
Well,
what is
well,
the
I think
reason for
I think the urgency is that there is a grant program and we've been,
So there's a time
supposedly-
deadline on the grant
supposedly
program.
blessed. Well, we don't know yet, because they say you've been chosen, okay?
I see, okay.
And, but then when I say, well, do you have the money for the grant already? Well, no, we don't have the money yet, but if we get the money.
Is the grant like a consistent grant that's written
Not to my
already?
knowledge.
Okay.
It seems like it's something to do with getting this dam removal
That's good
thing moved
clarification.
along.
Okay, I appreciate that.
So you and I both know what's happening from federal government to state budget to local budget, so,
Sure.
you know, we worry a little bit about the,
Well,
but
if
we
it's not
know
even
that.
written either, I
if-
mean,
That they would tell you, certainly in the documents that the state produced, they say specifically that it's a high hazard dam.
okay.
Whether it's really a high hazard dam has been
Sure.
debated here
Right.
numerous times, so I'm gonna leave that at that.
Yeah, we
So
won't touch that part.
we're gonna move on with the meeting. Okay, Liz, one more time, go ahead.
I'm surprised you don't know what the warrant article actually proposes. It says we urge the select board
Yeah.
to accept the state's offer
Yeah.
to remove the dam.
Yeah, no, I know what it
That's
says.
what, no, it does say what,
Yeah.
one of those two
Yes,
options.
okay.
It doesn't, it's not vague,
Okay, sorry.
it's exact.
Real quick, it's a question. How often is the state actually reaching out to you, or is it more like towns?
Let's put it this
reaching
way,
out to
the
you?
state has been, and I'm gonna use this word, and I apologize to anybody who feels that this has in some way been rooted or in whatever. They basically said, stop these people from badgering us. They started to say, basically, we will answer the questions you put together from the select board, and then we'll write responses. They won't take our calls anymore, because
They're
it's
not
been.
reaching out to you, they're not like, oh my God, something failed. Okay, so really, the urgency, from my understanding, is the towns who are against it pushing it. 'Cause it's
Well,
on
no, I
every
think the
single meeting.
urgency is for people who believe that if the state offers you a grant, and you sit
Okay.
around for a year
But
or
they're not
two.
calling over and over saying, you gotta make a decision, you gotta make a decision.
Our fear is, they won't call us, and when we do contact
Okay.
them, they'll say.
Just to make sure
"Oh."
there's no urgency from them, because they would be calling if
Yeah.
they really thought it was a huge.
Well, not
urgency.
necessarily, they have been very solicitous of us,
Okay.
they've provided us with all kinds of information, we've passed a lot of that information on to the citizens. I would say they're exhausted with us. No, I mean, I'm just being honest.
I think everybody else is exhausted.
Well, yeah, but it's a very important thing, we want to make the right decision, and we know it's very controversial. We want to make the right decision for perpetuity. The right decision for tomorrow may not be the right decision for 50 years from now. And there's a strong, strong push at the state level that they believe that taking out some of these dams is the best thing for the environment over time. That's a philosophy, a philosophical position. Doesn't make it right in every in every situation, but that's one of the things.
Thank you for looking into it, thank you.
You may be.
Okay, we have made a vote, we have a direction, we appreciate your patience, and hope that within the next, month or two, we will be able to get some more legal information to you that will be helpful. Okay, and Lucy, we'll make sure that you get that other stuff.
We'll get that.
Okay, just moving on, we do have some individuals here that are looking for a special permit. And they've come a long way to meet with the board. This is Karina's Resort Bar and Restaurant, looking for a common victualer's license and an entertainment license. Entertainment often can mean they just have a TV in the place, like Dunkin' Donuts has it. Because when they first said entertainment license, I was just like, really? It's just about a TV, they may be having small, ensembles and stuff, but anyway, this is an individual, they're taking ownership of the upper deck, I'm sure never to be called upper deck again.
It's almost something. Don't really react.
Okay.
People don't come to this town because of the name.
Okay, so at any rate, Karina's Resort Bar and Restaurant has solicited the board for a common victualer's license and an entertainment license, and we do have a recommendation from the board.
And who's taking ownership?
It's Rowena. I guess you're well known, Rowena.
And I'll see that in the packet, but anyway,
Could I-
Barre, what do you want?
No, I know
Could I-
That's all right.
that's just a.
Make a motion to issue a common victular license to Corinna's Resort Bar and Restaurant and an entertainment license.
I'll second that.
We have a motion made and seconded to authorize the common victular and entertainment license for Corinna's Resort Bar and Restaurant, located where most of you know, when I say the upper deck, I believe that is the beginning of Stetson Road. Okay, those in favor, we have a vote, I think?
Aye.
Right. Okay, we're good to go. You're ready to go. Do people know her, or do they just want this?
It's a nice, easy, and happy,
Everybody's excited.
We're just
Everybody's
happy
excited to go back.
You guys gonna have fun. Oh, yeah. Good food. Good people.
jerk chicken, I'm hearing.
Oh, trust me, everybody.
Welcome to town.
Come down.
I'm excited to go back. It's pretty cool.
Oh, maybe perhaps, I don't know.
Something.
Yeah, she did.
I learned to ski.
It's Rowena. I don't know if it matters on the thing. It's
I just said
R-O-W.
Karina.
No, it's R-O-W. Okay. I just want to make sure if it's on the license, it's done right. That's all. Thank you.
Candy, do you have that?
T-bag.
Rowena's?
There's gonna be a follow-up meeting to this.
You guys are welcome.
There's gonna be a follow-up meeting, so
What kind of food?
For the dam?
Spanish,
Oh, yeah.
American.
I don't know what.
I was wanting the states with that one. No, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, let's get back to our new business. We are going to walk through very quickly the annual town meeting warrant articles that we will be deciding whether we're going to recommend them or not recommend them, or take no action at this time. Some of you may be interested in this, some of you may not be. It's just perfunctory and something we need to do. Obviously, some of the articles are just typical and things that we have on every town meeting, and those will be the first several articles. Article 1 being to choose the town officers. We will obviously have what will be our recommendation?
Favorable.
Okay, so we'll have favorable. Those in favor are favorable?
Aye.
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 Who seconded that?
You can put me down, I'll second.
Reports from committees? Have a motion?
Make a motion that we
Have a
give a
motion
favorable
favorable.
on Article 2.
Mark, we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded for favorable action on the reports from committees. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Payment of bills from a prior fiscal year.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
I'm not aware of any, so you might want to hold off on your
Okay.
recommendation.
So you're passing over in front?
We're passing over that. Article 4, budget transfers. Have a
I
motion?
make a motion for favorable recommendation on Article 4.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion made for favorable action and seconded for budget transfers. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have a recommendation in Article 5 to use water enterprise funds to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and borrow transfer from water receipts a sum of money.
You make a favorable motion on that.
We have favorable action.
Second that.
We have a motion for favorable action, made and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. A similar article for the FY26 sewer enterprise budget.
Make a motion favorable on sewer enterprise budget.
We have a favorable, a motion for favorable action.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded for favorable action on the sewer enterprise fund for Article 6. So those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, then the big one, the big Article 7. Article 7 is the FY 2026 omnibus budget. Now, we have no final numbers on that at this time, since our hearing is tomorrow night. If people would prefer to have a,
I'd like
to be
pass over.
determined, pass over
Yeah.
for this evening. We have a motion to pass over, seconded? Mark?
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to pass over on the omnibus budget until tomorrow's, shall we say, hearing, public hearing. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who passed over on Article 3?
Who passed over it?
You just passed over.
I think it was me.
Okay.
Yeah, we take no action this time. Okay, the omnibus, Article 8, the 2026 omnibus budget for schools.
Favorable.
Have a
We
motion
have all
for
those numbers, we're good?
all the budget we currently have.
Okay.
That's all we got, right?
Okay, I'll second that.
We have a motion made and seconded for favorable action on the school budget. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the override budget, Article 9. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate an additional sum of money to defray municipal department charges and expenses for fiscal year beginning July 1. And obviously to do so later in a ballot special election in accordance with general laws, chapter 59, section 21, and take any action relative thereto. We are recommending, since we voted this morning to set the date of the election.
I make a motion that we,
Taking favorable action.
favorable action on Article 9.
No second.
We have a motion made and seconded for favorable action on the override budget.
This puts it before the voters, that's all we're doing.
That's all we're doing.
I'm in favor.
Aye.
Okay, we have need a motion for PEG access and cable-related funding to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from PEG access and cable-related fund to operate the public educational and governmental access and cable-related fund established by Massachusetts general law.
Make favorable on that.
Second.
We have
Article 10.
a motion for favorable action on PEG access and cable-related funds. We have a motion made and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
We have the revolving funds. I think that's another one we may want to wait until after the public hearing, since we'll be putting the spending limits in there tomorrow.
Make a motion to pass over Article 11 till tomorrow.
Second.
Okay, now we have, okay,
And vote on it. Aye.
Article 13, local option meals tax, to see if the town will vote to accept the provision of Mass General Law, Chapter 64L, Section 2, so to impose a local sales tax upon the sale of restaurant meals originating in the town. We have a motion?
Make a favorable motion on Article 13.
Favorable action, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded for favorable action on local option meals tax. Those in favor?
Aye.
Department of Public Works Special Act. I would say TBD.
Well, again, I mean, I think it's gonna, I think we're gonna present it to the voters, and it's up to the voters if they wanna make a change or not again this year. I do have some language issues in the verbiage that was presented to us.
So should we?
Greg, those can be amended on the floor, you mentioned earlier as well.
Well, I will present amendment on the floor because I have some concerns that some of the language we thought we were gonna eliminate last year's, I think is back in here. We thought we were gonna eliminate it, so.
Well, do you wanna, what do you wanna do with it?
Madam Chair, board members, I would suggest that rather than proposing an amendment, you may just simply read a motion with the language that you indicated that's going to be stricken. Since you are the sponsor of the article, so long as the moderator rules that it's within the four corners of the article, no amendment would be necessary. Mark, you had talked to me earlier today about a couple of words that you didn't like, and as long as we know what that is, we can craft a motion that reads exactly what you hope to accomplish.
Thank you. Good information.
So we, TBD?
TBD?
Well, it's to be determined, is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Article 14, we have a motion to, our recommendation would be to be determined. We have a motion?
Make a motion on the,
Yeah.
sorry, I already put my page.
Article 14,
Article 14 to be determined.
yeah.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to have our, shall we say, our opinion to be determined as we work through more language here.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. An act relative to the department that just goes on, it goes on for several pages, so. Okay. We, in Article 15, is to rescind prior town meeting votes, to see if the town will vote to rescind votes taken at a prior town meeting and return unspent balances to the general fund. There are several bridge projects that have now been on the books for 10 years.
They're taking that out.
My understanding is the bridge money will stay there. It was interesting the day that we talked about this. The DPW superintendent
Okay.
came by and said he needed some of that for his matching funds.
Okay,
However, there is $50,000 that's unspent for the Rebel School generator,
Rebels Lane
which will be
School
part of this article.
okay, so 50K for the school generator that's not going to be utilized.
I move favorable action on Article 15.
Second.
We have favorable action on Article 15, then those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, appointment of a part-time paid assessor, Article 16.
I move favorable action on this.
We have a motion for favorable action, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded for favorable action on number 16.
What was 15?
Favorable.
Favorable.
Who made the motion on?
Yeah, no.
15 and 16, I made the motion.
Good night.
Good night.
On number 16, do we have vote, favorable action on the appointment of a paid part-time assessor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, favorable action on that. Assesses recertification of properties, that's Article 17. We have a recommendation.
So we have favorable.
We have favorable action. Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, let's see. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or borrow or transfer from available funds for recertification of properties, which that was a favorable vote. Got that, Sandy? Number 17?
Yes,
Okay.
I got that.
Number 18, proposed zoning change. This is changing some zoning.
Yep, I make a motion for favorable action. This is on the
Second.
Roger Winery School.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded to have favorable action for the proposed zoning change for the area around Roger Langley School. Matt, you're here, and I hate to, talk to you about planning, but is there any issue of concern about the zoning changes that weren't, that didn't come with a list of people who were putting these articles on? I mean, you guys took your action, had your things, we put them on as just from the select board. Are you feeling there's any issue of concern there? We don't, but one of the attorneys said to us, the Caruso should have had his own group put this forward.
We had no issue
Okay.
because this is just a recommendation from our perspective, to extend R20 that's already there.
Okay,
So it's abutting existing R20, it's
Okay.
not spot zoning. And what he does after that has nothing to do with the zoning change.
right,
That's a personal development decision that
okay.
would then come before us
So
later.
you're okay?
So that's how oh, he's not here. But that's how the planning board discussed it and presented it as, we're supporting the zoning change request. He can then take the next steps after that, depending on how it goes.
Okay,
And pretty much every one of these was kind of,
I agree.
nothing doesn't look like out of place, so let the town decide.
Okay. Okay, so we have favorable action on change for Mr. Caruso as well. And then we have, how about Article 19?
Yeah, 18 is Roger Langley,
Roger
19
Langley.
is South Berry Road, Mr. Crusoe.
Yeah,
I make a motion for favorable action.
Second.
You have a
That's on
motion?
19.
yeah.
Article 19.
Motion made and seconded on Article 19 for favorable action. Those in favor?
Aye.
Then we have the proposed zoning change, which is again, is just that's the R.J. McDonald property thing?
Yep, that came before us,
Same
same concept.
Same concept, okay, so we have a recommendation,
Make a motion for favorable action.
we have a favorable action,
Second.
we have a motion made and seconded for favorable action on proposed zoning change. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, this one is gonna be of interest, I think, and may be something we wanna wait on. Article 21, a ban on single-use plastic bags. I see that there could be some, I could see this will bring some conversation. I don't know what, there's a citizen group that will be presenting this.
They're talking about bags in like the grocery stores and
Yeah,
things like that.
the single-use plastic bags, and in a lot of stores you go in now, you bring your own, bag to tote particularly. But my concern just is, this is gonna impact people who do takeout, you know, I see there's still a lot of plastic bags used, so we would need, you know, a runway to say if we're gonna do this, people would have a significant amount of time to change the way in which they manage this, because obviously they probably buy some of this stuff in bulk and ahead. You'd hate to say, this happens tomorrow.
I actually asked somebody at Olson, they said that it didn't seem to be that
Big
big
deal
of
for
a
them.
deal.
Yeah.
Well,
I know
that's-
They just need some time.
So this article was completely rewritten by town council. Again, I think you mentioned before, because the board of selectmen was the sponsor, council spent considerable time,
fixing it.
many hours rewriting a citizen's article, and from my perspective, that's not right, because it's town money that's being expended to support a citizen's petition. You'll also note that there's an enforcement provision in here.
Mhm.
Now, where our police officers are going to be policing bag usage in town. And for me, I would suggest you might want to take a look at that, because that becomes a real enforcement issue for the police department that may be short-staffed depending upon what happens with the override busters.
I know.
How much trouble could you get in?
First offense,
We should spend the
$50,
night
second
in jail,
offense,
or-
$100,
It's
and
non-criminal disposition, which we've had for a number of years in town.
so at any rate.
So you're just talking about enforcement for the businesses to do this, correct?
I was, yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, so this is the business, not the individual,
Yeah, I mean,
not
some-
the individual.
They have adequate time to, you know, to do that and to inform their customers.
Okay, so we're at Article 22, Old Reservoir Dam.
We're gonna pass over 21.
That was my expectation, that we passing it over.
No motion,
That we
second.
would make no recommendation, unless we want to get in there and really change some stuff around and then recommend it.
So pass over, no recommendation.
Yeah.
I think we just pass over no rec.
Okay.
I mean, we could also not recommend it. We have a motion on this? Plastic bags?
Make a motion, we pass over with no recommendation.
Mark?
Second.
No recommendation, we'll pass over the article. Those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Removing the Old Reservoir Dam. See if the town will vote to urge the selectmen to accept the offer, blah, blah.
I don't think we can make a recommendation on this because we have pending legal
Yeah.
that we're working on.
So no recommendation at this time. I mean, the thing of it is a moot point, actually, because what it says is, it urges us to do something.
Yep.
It doesn't demand that we do it, they urge us to do this. And so, I think that we could know more in a
Right.
week and a half, we may
Yeah.
not.
Yep.
So, we're taking no action at this time?
Make a motion, to take no action on Article 22.
I'll second that.
Okay, and then we do have a citizen's petition on the final, which is,
We have to vote on
we have to vote on
Yeah,
it.
we have
We'll
to
take
vote on 22.
no action, no recommendation at this time?
Yep.
On number 22, those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay. Authorization to make a payment for previously approved stipends, this is a citizen's petition.
I make a motion unfavorable.
I would second that.
Have a motion made and seconded, those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
It looks like we posted the warrants already today. We were here this morning, reading this into the record, so that the constables could get out and spend the day posting, so we're doing it just quickly tonight.
Madam Chair, I just have a copy of the election warrant for August 5th, which the town clerk was kind enough to bring in. You did vote this morning for
Yes,
the
yes,
override
we did.
election, and this is just makes it a formality. I don't want to walk away
And
with
there's
it.
no number in there yet, right?
There is a number in there.
There is a number.
There is a number in there.
Okay, so I think we should wait till tomorrow night
Okay.
till we meet with the Budget and Finance Committee, making sure that
Yep.
is the number. And then, it'll be on the 5th, and we'll make signatures at that time. Okay?
We have a posted meeting tomorrow night,
Yes, we
so
do.
we could sign that at the end.
Yeah, we have a posted meeting tomorrow night as well.
Alan, you want to hold it, or you want me to take it?
You can hold on to it.
You trust me with it?
We have a posted meeting tomorrow night, so unless the number changes or doesn't change, we'll be able to sign it tomorrow night.
Yep.
Yeah, if it changes, you'll need to revote.
Right.
Okay, so we have taken care of the annual town meeting warrant articles and so forth. And sometimes, when, in a very brief meeting previous to the town meeting, sometimes these things change. Just to let you know that we, you
Yeah,
know,
get more
we'll
information.
continue to go through these as we move forward. Sometimes we go on and we have a to be determined, and then we have, sometimes we still have no recommendation, but. Anyway, moving on to special events application for the Savage Race Boston 2025 at Carter Stevens Farm on July 19th. All the appropriate paperwork has been completed by the individuals who are sponsoring this at Carter Stevens Farm. And you have any other, everything that, okay. So
The only thing the police chief asked, sent them an email requesting they make sure nobody parks on West Street. So the
Yeah,
audience
we
has
had a
to
huge
make
problem
sure.
with that last
Well,
year.
what happens is if the fields that they're supposed to park in are muddy, they don't park on Pleasant Street. I mean, and I'm not thrilled about it, don't get me wrong, it could happen again.
They acknowledge that.
They're gonna work at it, I know they are, but,
Well, it was mentioned last year that we could, you know, have the event put up signs down the road, because it's not really the police responsibility to put out signs.
right,
I mean, they were parked all the way down,
well, yeah, into the center of town.
and I think that's something that, you know, should be done. They should be, you know, responsible for that.
Who's the person of contact? Is it Molly?
No.
It's savage, right?
Somebody from Savage Race?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's.
So we could
that's
just
done.
make sure that they are aware of that and that they have the signage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they-
Yeah,
We can send an email tomorrow.
Yeah.
it is Savage, yeah.
But would you please copy it either to Phil or Molly so that they are aware as well? Because I mean, I know last year it was mud, they couldn't park. I mean, they could park, but they weren't gonna get out. So,
Even the people that, you know, the residents that were allowing them to park on their property was just.
so they were allowing them for $20.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it was a
I would
zoo.
allow them my property for
It
$20.
was muddy.
It got so out of control, there was no way the cops could do anything
Yeah.
about it.
No.
They were just one right after another. If they were at one end, they were parking at the other, it was just out of control. So we need signs all the way down. And it's their responsibility, not the
Okay,
police.
so
We'll put
with,
that in your motion then, wanna put that in your motion then, so that if we have an issue going forward, then we may not be given permits. So
Yeah,
it's in the motion, we send them a directive, they gotta follow it.
right.
okay.
Yeah.
So you accepted that friendly amendment to your motion to approve
Yeah.
this
I would
special
like to-
application for Savage Race Boston 2025 with the proviso that we issue specific information about parking down on 122. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion made and seconded.
I'll second the motion.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, letter to representatives, lithium ion battery storage facilities vote.
The letters in there,
Hmm.
the letters in there. Right after that.
No, I'm just talking about something else.
Okay, what do you want to do with this, gentlemen?
We just put it in this.
I will say before we do anything with this, that I'm a bit uncomfortable doing this when we do it without really any community information about the fact that we're going to do it. I don't have, you know, you listen to party A, and it's the worst thing that you could possibly ever do anywhere, anytime. Another group of people says, well, wait a minute, why can't we have an opportunity to decide whether we want to do this or not? And so I'm just letting you know that there's two different stories to this. I don't have tons of information other than what I read in the signs and what I have read on my own. And it sounds like, of course, you can read side one that says this is the best thing since sliced bread, not a problem, we should do it. You know, it's green, it's a green thing to do. Other people say, oh God, this could ruin our aquifer. They're really pushing the aquifer thing, and I guess if there's a fire, I would appreciate, I think the fire chief, maybe for the fire chief to give us a rendition, because it's all about if it starts on fire, that's the problem, right? Anybody has
Part
a,
of it, yeah, it's part of it, and leaking into the ground.
Leaking over time?
Yeah, batteries would be leaking, no, anything that would be leaking into the ground is another concern.
You're talking about them like combusting, the battery just catching fire. There's not much they can do about it except let it burn out.
Yeah,
So, it was brought to our attention as a planning board.
oh, good, okay.
And just to clarify how the process goes, although it wasn't the process itself that actually made us aware, but when a town has a battery storage facility proposed by a developer, the current state law allows them to go straight to the state, to a siting board, and ignore all local input whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so what's going on right now is they became aware that a developer went to the state to start this process. A prior town in Westfield had successfully worked this process to make the developer uncomfortable enough not to move forward. The state actually did not actually take any action. The developer withdrew their permit because of all of these concerns. Right now, there are 3 bills going before the state to provide better oversight and regulation of this siting board and where these types of things can go. And that is specifically what this letter is about, is supporting those bills and getting them moving forward so that there is better, there's actually, it requires a local voice. Doesn't mean we have authority, but we have a voice. It requires kind of buffer zones around some of these major waterways. And then I forget the third one, but it's in the letter, I believe, and a quick little summary after it. And I'll admit, I drafted that letter based on the information I got. I attended a meeting in Oakham. It had the people from Westfield explaining everything they went through. It had people from Oakham desperately looking for other people because us little towns have no voice alone. So this is the other part of, you're looking at a neighboring town who, win, lose, or draw, you may be the next neighboring town, and if you don't step up with your neighbors, they won't step up with you, and we just all get walked over. So the intent of this is to get our legislation to know that this requires more oversight, very similar to something Mark had mentioned earlier with the dam stuff, is how much do you trust the experts the states bring in to further their own agenda? Okay, and forgive me, but that is what's going on right now. Because if you've actually studied the technology, lithium batteries are literally about 5 years from being outdated. They're gonna replace them with healthier, safer products. They've got, whether it's hydrogen cells, sand-based batteries that create thermal energy gets converted. There's a lot safer. What's happening now, though, is everybody invested in lithium mines, and they gotta find a reason to keep using it. And so, also, one of the other things that came up was in January, the big lithium fire burning in California that occurred. And that smoke traveled up to 30 miles, and at the moment, it was a combination of shelter in place and evacuation due to the conditions and the potential neighborhood you lived in.
And they
So
could,
all this has to do is reach the Quabbin based on a northwesterly wind, and the entire waterway of Boston is contaminated. This is just making sure they understand this, and so that's what the letter's about. Just to give you a
Yeah, I think.
perspective from the planning board, because we had already sent this letter.
Yeah, the, one of the perspectives, obviously, that I would have is, there's nobody who whines and complains more than the WMRA about making sure that our watershed, okay, we can't ride a bike on it. We can't do this, we can't do that. And then immediately adjacent, they're gonna put this.
no,
I mean, see, that's the stuff that,
no.
I mean, we should get more pilot money for all the land that we have that protects the water supply. Let's face it, it's 24% of our town. And nobody seems to care about the fact that they should pay us more than $100,000 a year for all of the land that they've taken away and the business opportunities and so forth. You know, I know that the people from the whole Quabbin area are going really crazy. There's legislation out there with it, although in part passed, probably not, but, so.
Munson is sending letters in to support Oakham not getting this, so just to show you, it's not just your local neighborhood, so,
And I think that this is.
so I'm just continuing my support and requesting you move forward with the
I
letter.
thank you for your insight, it's helpful.
That's all.
It's whose door they're gonna knock on next, basically.
Okay, so we have a motion? Would one of you make a motion to accept this letter and to move it forward on behalf of the select board and the town of Barre?
I'll make a motion to, sign this letter and move it forward.
No second? I'll second the motion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Those abstaining?
Same.
Abstain? Okay, moving along to, we have a letter of resignation for the Barry Common Oversight and also the Felton Field Commission. That is Mr. Paul Cranston, who is relocating to warmer climates. And also for a person who also serves on the commission, master plan steering committee. And with our thanks, we accept the resignation of Paul for the service he has provided for us on the Barry Common Oversight Group, on Felton Fields Commission, and on the master plan steering committee. Thank you, Paul. Those in favor of accepting his resignation?
Aye.
Aye.
Can we send him a letter?
We certainly can do that. Telling him he's off the hook and
Yeah,
also thanks.
thank you for his years of service on the Barry Common Committee, previous town moderator, Master Plan Steering Committee, and Felton Field Commission. He may have done a couple other things over the years, but certainly did his due diligence in serving our community.
We have a motion to accept his resignation with our many thanks and also a letter that would be crafted and sent along to him. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now it looks like we're looking for a master plan steering committee appointment. We have an application from an individual, Tracy LaRosa.
That would be me.
Tracy's
Tracy,
here,
thank you very much for being here this evening.
patiently sitting through the meeting.
You're welcome.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I
and-
did prepare a letter too. Do you want me just to read it or
That'd be
present
great,
it?
Tracy.
Okay. So dear members of the select board, I'm writing to express my sincere interest in serving the town of Barry's master plan committee. As someone who has proudly called Barry home for almost 40 years, I care deeply about the future of our town and would be honored to play a role in shaping its long-term vision. I'm a local realtor as well as a broker business owner and passionate community volunteer. I volunteer monthly for the food pantry, Barry Historical Society, as well as I sponsor them, Q-Drug, and I serve several roles at my church as well here in town, Covenant Evangelical. I'm deeply invested in the success and well-being of our town. Through my work in real estate, I've developed a strong understanding of the Barry housing needs and the community trends that influence the growth and development. I see firsthand what draws people to town and the challenges that we face in maintaining and getting the town up and thriving. I believe my attention to detail, professionalism, and commitment to serving others would be a strong asset to the Master Plan Committee, as I'm dedicated to preserving what makes Barry special while supporting thoughtful, balanced growth that benefits both the current residents and our future generations. I have 3 children that have been born and raised here in town. It would be a privilege to contribute to this important work alongside the others who are equally passionate about our town. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Tracy, thank you for being here and thank you for that letter. We appreciate it very
You're
much.
welcome. And also, my respect to Paul, he was a great divorce attorney 20 years ago.
He does a lot attorney, well, thank you for doing that.
So, he's a good guy.
Yeah. Well, he thinks golf is more fun than being a lawyer in Barry. Anyway,
I make a motion that we appoint Tracy LaRosa to the Town of Barry Master Plan Steering Committee.
I will second that.
we have a motion made and seconded to appoint Tracy LaRosa to the Master Plan Steering Committee.
Thank you all.
Thank you for your application. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks. And now they'll start sending you notices to attend meetings.
Wednesday night.
I thought it was odd, as I told Rich, that I just was included in the email, and I was like, oh, that's all I have to do? Like, anyways.
Please get sworn in with the town clerk.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, moving on, we've done the victuals license, we're just looking for wage authorization. And we have the Ryan Cristiano for a seasonal employer in that, or employee, at $16.97. And he's our second seasonal employer. We employee. We've had just one individual, and it's been really stressful to try to get all of the work done. Consider a vote, that's later on, so he would be appointed as a seasonal worker for $16.97. I have a motion.
I move to approve the wage authorization for Brian Cristiano as a seasonal employee. The hourly salary of $16.97, start date 6/9/25.
Okay,
Second motion.
we have a motion made and seconded to appoint Ryan Cristiano as seasonal employee at $16.97 an hour. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, consider a vote for July 4th holiday. They must want to do something.
Because 4th of July is on a Friday, and we don't work on Fridays, so.
You want it on Monday?
No, so it just, it would be on a
It
Thursday.
would be Thursday.
Because if a holiday is on a Saturday,
Okay, so
then
this
the
is for,
holiday
this is not
is-
just for the DPW, this is for all
This-
employees.
All
Got you.
employees.
Yeah, okay,
yeah, this is for our town employees who aren't covered by a contract.
okay.
So normally it would be on the day before, which would be a Thursday, and our personnel policies say that people get their Independence Day off. So my recommendation would be to allow people to take it on the Thursday.
Okay.
And this just came up today, was that, I didn't realize. it
Yeah,
was
we
on
had to
Friday.
deal with it though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we're looking to consider a vote which would authorize July 4th holiday to be served to the employees for the town of Barre who are non-unionized on July 3rd. Right? Which is Thursday.
That'd be right.
Okay, the Thursday or the day preceding the July 4th holiday, because that was already a time when the offices are closed.
Right.
Okay, we good? Those in, do you have a motion?
I make a motion for the town employees to use July 3rd as their July 4th holiday.
All non-union employees.
And that would imply that town hall would be closed on that day.
Yes.
So for the public, they need to know.
So on the 3rd, correct?
Yes.
Correct, not that people are gonna be kicking in the door on the 3rd, but it's always good to post the notice.
Oh,
Okay.
I'll
Second
put it
that.
Yeah. Okay, a motion made and seconded to all non-union employees will have the opportunity to have the July 4th holiday celebrated on July 3rd, and that the Henry Woods building will be closed on that Thursday. Those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We are ready to accept or think about it.
I'd just like to thank Greg and Ellen, who had a tremendous amount of work to get done to get to basically tonight and tomorrow night's hearing. So thank you both. Above and beyond the call of duty really this year
My
to get us
fear-
where we
my-
had to be.
My fear is, it's gonna be just as bad tomorrow. I mean, because we gotta get through that meeting
We
with
do.
department heads and, you know, the cuts that are really even recommended, even though we are, you know, trying to go with an override, there are still substantial cuts. And we're gonna hear from department heads as to what, and so I really thank you all for your time and attention, and I think undying patience.
Ellen's gonna hand up.
Ellen?
I just want to make a comment. The annual town meeting warrant is now posted on the website and on my town government.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great.
People
Thank
to
you,
know
Ellen.
that it is there,
Okay.
now that I have finally got access to it.
And I will make sure I bring this to tomorrow's meeting.
Thank you.
I just signed it.
So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Public comment, you never had
Oh,
public
I'm
comment.
sorry, public comment, you're right, let's go right back to public comment. Joy?
I have a question. On the May 19th meeting, the select board meeting, there was a proposed social media policy, and it was passed around. And I was interested in reading that, so I looked at the document where there's like an upload of the meeting packet, and it wasn't in there.
Oh, okay.
So I've sent some requests, a couple email requests, asking for that document. And I haven't heard anything back, and I was just wondering,
I will tell you that we have been buried with work, and we haven't looked at that document either. So I will tell you that if you would like to have a copy of the document that we have not even in a cursory fashion spent any time
We
with.
were gonna have town council review it
Yeah.
before anything.
but if it's part of a public meeting and it's discussed, then it should be part of the meeting packet, correct?
Yeah.
And so I thought it would be appropriate to ask via email And especially in light of the fact that the Freedom of Information Act requests, you know, are a problem, you know, with taking up your time and all that. I would rather just ask for a document as
Thank you.
a member of the public and get it,
Yep.
but get some sort of response.
We will give you some sort of response and potentially the document which has not been reviewed by town council or by the board.
That's okay, I
Okay.
just, as
I
part
already
of
have the
that
document.
meeting.
Oh, you don't have the document? Where is it?
It was handed in the meeting that night, but I don't have that. That was not included in the packet. That
It
was
wasn't in the
brought-
packet.
That was brought to the
I
meeting
brought
that
it.
night.
Okay.
So you have a copy, sir?
Do I?
Yeah,
Not with me.
but you
Well,
have it,
you have
I
it.
meant, so
So
that
you
you
could
could
provide-
share it with the town administrator's office? That's all I meant.
What, Joy?
You could provide a copy, like, could you provide a copy so that I can see it?
I will when I get it.
Oh.
I don't have it with me.
No, I mean,
How's that?
but, no, that's.
I don't have it with me.
No, I
There's
know,
no reason to
I-
badger me about it.
She's asking for.
I think you
sorry.
misunderstand the question.
I- I
Not,
just-
not
I'm
immediately
asking
was the
you-
question.
If you
Listen,
will provide it.
Listen, they're gonna get it to you, okay?
Oh, okay, thank you,
Maureen already said it.
I'll make sure you get a copy.
thank you.
I don't know why we gotta keep asking.
Neither do we.
Okay, that being said,
Same old thing.
do we have any
Oh, Dan,
other comment? Input, I should say.
if you don't mind, may I approach?
Certainly, I feel like I'm the judge when you say, may I approach? I only
No.
see that on
I'm
TV.
gonna bring up a few things, but before I start, I just wanna clarify, I recognize each individual doing their best. This is not brought up to knock anybody's efforts, right or wrong. This is just more about process.
Mhm.
And I get it, sometimes we gotta get stuff done, things get skipped, things happen. This is not beating anybody up, it's just kinda going back to, sometimes we gotta step back to avoid stepping further back and then starting over. And I only bring that up because, again, today's agenda got updated twice today for this meeting. Understandably, one was the July 4th thing, administrative, but still potentially of consequence to the public to know how we're spending our money and choosing to do what we do. And then the other was, again, the warrant. That was on the morning's meeting, and then it got added to this one about 1:30, which is fine, but the general public, given a 5-hour notice, is kind of, well, it's not necessarily fair to the public. That's all I'm suggesting, and I do think we need to kind of look at that again. And if you want to do these things, I would recommend, if you have to, and it sucks, set up another meeting that gives you the 48 hours to address it, or look at a future meeting that may exist to address 4th of July, because it didn't need to be addressed until a day or two before the 4th of July. I'm just suggesting, these are just examples. So let's just try to just slow down, see what we can do. And if things pop up at the last minute, I would just ask, kind of based on the training we were given, that you had all of us go to, that err on the side of caution. If you don't have to do it today, don't do it today. Or if it comes up in public comment and you're not prepared, push it to another meeting's agenda. I just kind of agree with the concept that was taught to us by our own legal counsel. And so I'm just asking if we can just try to be a little bit better with that, because when I look at it, it's not easy to know what was added sometimes when you got a big agenda, because you're trying to review this is what it was and this is what it became, and you're trying to figure out what piece, and were you prepared to come? So for me, it was difficult, but I do work with it. Again, I'm not beating anybody up. I know you've had a crazy last 3 or 4 months, at least. So I do appreciate you just hearing me out on that. I'm not expecting comment or discussion or any response from you. I'm not trying to, again, beat any individual up. I'm just trying to work and bring up some things that I think maybe...
To make us better.
That's the hope. And that's all I'm trying to do.
Did you have to say that's the hope?
Yeah,
It
because...
sounds so dismal.
Right, but
Well, that is it, because I get it. That you got a lot of priorities that are always gonna hit you, and it's gonna make it,
And the thing of it is,
and it's perception.
and you've been here, you sat here.
Yeah.
And you sat here through a couple town administrative changes, and this is my third in 3 years. you know? So it's challenging, there's no question about it. And I appreciate, you know, the patience that some of you people who want perfection have, because it's really tough to be perfect in this environment right now. And, you know, we're focused heavily on budget. Well, you know, it's budget, making sure that we present to this community the realistic approach in the budget, because nobody wants to hear that. We know that. Doing the best job we can to get the data we need to, you know, make the kind of budget that would make sense over time, understanding that 2.5 is unrealistic in the Commonwealth right now. Fixed charges are killing us, you know, and, you know, trying to, you know, who wants to be the select board that says, I think we need an override? Not us, but it's real. I mean, if we don't do that, we're doing a disservice to people saying, we're going to provide you with the same services we used to provide you with, you know, in last January. Going forward, we're not. We're not without some help and assistance from the community. And, you know, what's it gonna cost us if, and how are you gonna, you know, making sure we dot i's and cross t's about that piece. We spent a lot of time on that. We have a wonderful guy here who's, you know, putting in a couple of days a week and should be putting in, you know, really, it's a 5-day-a-week job for sure. And we're doing the best we can. I appreciate you being patient and not screaming and just saying, hey, guys, shape up. I appreciate the opportunity to do so.
Thank you very much.
I don't
And I
wanna-
really mean it. I am not calling anybody out.
I don't wanna
I
be
mean
bad
it.
at this
It's
job.
just, it's a tough
None of us wanna be-
process.
It's not easy when it's one person, 2 days a week in that office.
We know.
I'm just saying.
No, we know.
I said that for
then add-
years, Sandy. You never
then
had
add
enough
all the
support.
other
I have
public
always
record
said
And why
that.
does an assistant need an assistant? That was wrong. Just saying.
Who said that?
No, not you.
Okay, thank you. I don't
I
recall
mean,
saying
look at
that. That's why I was asking.
I mean,
Mike.
And we had to get to these, man, I couldn't be at the morning meeting, we had to get our recommendations hashed out. It's really not public comment during that, it's just us figuring out how we're gonna support this as a board.
Could have been done tomorrow night. It's
Well,
already on the agenda.
Oh, it'll be
I
done.
don't think it hurt anything doing it tonight, honestly. I was here, I couldn't be here this morning. I did participate via phone, but it's just our discussion of how we're gonna support the articles as a board. I don't really think that's public input. Tomorrow night is a public hearing, so we'll hear from the public.
I've worked my whole life in public meetings. I get your criticism is valid, and in this situation, it's been valid sometimes about the school committee when we didn't do whatever we shouldn't do. Maybe somebody didn't get a document, and, you know, when people ask reasonably for a document, you know, when we say, yeah, we need to do it. You know, we gotta get it, we get it. I mean, I get it. And do I wish, that it wasn't so difficult sometimes, because we could have 2 meetings every day and not get it all done. I mean, come on, Joe, at least say, I'm gonna get you that tomorrow, I promise.
But thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, you know, the other day, somebody says, geez, Maureen, you put that override on, you know, you're probably gonna get recalled. I said, how can I help?
All we can do is present the facts to the voters, and they're gonna get a chance to vote one way or the other. It always comes down to the voter.
I think it's difficult because of the economy right now. So many people, I mean, what we've seen, prices have gone up, but salaries haven't gone up, so people are getting nervous.
We get it.
And I'm sure that you guys know all of this, but that's gonna
But
be.
what we worry about, obviously, is trying very hard to ensure that the public safety things are preserved to the best of our ability. We don't want you to pick up the phone and they say, yeah, the state police are on their way,
30 minutes from Brookfield,
you know, on 3rd shift.
could happen.
No, I know it could happen.
And our guys do an awesome
Yeah,
job.
and we're not used to that. We're just not used to that. I mean, we're a small town, but the select boards in the past and so forth, and the budgets in the past have been able to really build a pretty amazing, you know, I think, public security situation where we have good ambulances, good fire, good police. I hope you all go halfway good schools. And now, when we see,
The revenue's a big issue.
well, revenues
We
are
just-
dead
no growth
in
is
the
limited.
water from the state.
There's not a lot of development left in the town of Barre. I mean, there's Audubon, there's state land,
There's the pilot
there's
money.
two different trust lands, like, there's not a lot of land left in Barre to develop. There isn't. And commercial industrial, really nothing. So there's not a lot of new growth, there's not a lot of revenue, and the fixed costs took a huge jump, retirement, medical
Well,
insurance.
Worcester County retirement's up 19%. That's
That's over
insane.
$600,000 just for retirement that we have to pay.
You mean for city employees?
Yeah,
Well, if you call it
That's-
city town
Yeah.
employees.
yeah.
So
So we
anyway,
were $216,000 upside down before we even talked to the budget, before we even talked to the departments about
See-
what they need. They're
Okay.
$216,000 upside down.
and health insurance is, I forget, like.
Huge number,
Yeah,
Yeah.
15% up.
huge number.
It's gotten
I
ridiculous.
thought it was like 18 or 19%.
Well, it could be, I don't know.
So-
Or you could hire a lot of retired people around
So we,
here, and then you don't have to worry about it.
we made the cuts, and we're presenting a level funded budget, but it's not gonna be pretty. And we're not
Well,
gonna
that's
have the
why-
services.
That's why I've been attending these meetings, because I really want to know what's going on. Because I hear from so many people who are upset that our taxes are so high, and I'm thinking, okay, so I want to find out why they're so high. And, as you know, I went to the DPW meeting too, because I really want to see what's
But
going on.
if you go through the books and you go and you see what other towns are paying, it's not too
Absolutely.
high compared relatively speaking, I mean.
When I was at that DPW meeting, I was like, oh my God, they need this, they're on a shoestring there.
Well, I would tell you, most departments are kind of on a shoestring, and always have been kind of on a shoestring. Would you agree, Matt?
We've been on a shoestring in every department since I ever got on the board, so yeah.
Yeah, and we had some interesting years where we had ESSER funds and CARES Act and that kind of stuff, but, you know, that stuff was very, what we could spend it on, what we couldn't spend it on, and, you know, that stuff dries up, and
We had a landfill for 30+ years, it paid $1 million a year, it's gone. So that was your commercial industrial base right there, we don't have it.
well, we have a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second,
Those in favor?
all right.
We're adjourned. Thank you for your
Yeah,
time,
thank you.
attention.